Over the past several days, dramatic online headlines and viral videos have suggested that a former public figure may be involved in a new controversy. In a significant development, former President Donald Trump is on the verge of losing several properties due to recent court decisions. In this report, we take a closer look at those claims, examining what the courts have actually ruled, what actions are legally possible, and what has not occurred. This coverage is based on verified legal records, official statements from the New York Attorney General's office. This story starts with a long-running civil fraud lawsuit and reporting from established news agencies, including Reuters. Filed in New York by State Attorney General Letitia James against former President Donald Trump and his business entities. The lawsuit alleged that Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization repeatedly inflated the value of his properties. In financial statements submitted to banks and insurers, a practice James said amounted to fraud. In February 2024, a New York judge ruled in favor of the state, concluding that Trump and his companies had engaged in persistent financial misrepresentation. As a result, the court imposed a substantial penalty and ordered Trump to pay a large disgorgement of ill-gotten gains. Initially, the judgment required Trump to post a bond of more than $450 million to stop enforcement while he appeals the verdict. Posting a bond does not require paying the penalty itself. It simply guarantees the money to the court if Trump ultimately loses on appeal. However, posting such a large bond is not straightforward. Trump's lawyers argued that it is extremely difficult to secure that amount from bond companies because most of his wealth is tied up in real estate rather than liquid assets. In March 2024, a state appeals court granted Trump a reprieve by reducing the $175 million and giving him additional time to post it. This decision meant state enforcement actions, including possible property seizure, could not proceed as long as he met the reduced bond requirement. As of now, Trump has posted a bond that pauses seizure efforts while the appeal moves through the courts. This legal maneuver protects him temporarily, but it does not end the case. So what does asset seizure actually mean in this context? If a judgment debtor fails to satisfy a civil judgment through payment or posting a proper bond, creditors can place liens on property and levy bank accounts. This can lead to selling assets at auction to satisfy the debt. These are legal enforcement tools in civil cases, not arbitrary takedowns. In Trump's case, Attorney General James said she could pursue such actions if the bond wasn't posted, but that process has not yet started. Some online narratives have compared these legal actions to government property seizures in authoritarian regimes. Legal experts and fact-checkers have rejected that comparison, emphasizing that this is a civil case with due process, public hearings, and judicial oversight, very different from expropriation under autocratic governments. Trump himself has called the lawsuit a witch hunt and equated enforcement measures with unfair taking. But courts have repeatedly noted the legal framework behind these judgments, including extensive evidentiary hearings and appeal rights. Trump has denied any wrongdoing in the fraud case and has defended his financial reporting, claiming political motivations behind the prosecution. His legal team also pursued strategic arguments before the appeals court to reduce the required bond, a move that was successful in delaying enforcement. Some commentators suggested Trump might even let a deadline pass, forcing the state to attempt seizure. A move his team argued could play well politically or trigger higher court review. If enforcement were ever triggered, New York authorities could target properties tied to Trump's personal finances in the state. These include Donald Trump's real estate in Westchester includes the Trump National Golf Club and the Seven Springs Estate. However, legal analysts point out that many of Trump's holdings are owned through complex corporate structures and trusts, making direct seizure complicated. Moreover, if liens or seizures did occur, any encumbrances like mortgages or creditor claims would have legal priority, unlike sensational headlines might imply. This civil fraud case is one of several high-profile legal challenges facing Trump. He also faces separate criminal prosecutions and other civil suits across multiple courts. What makes the New York civil fraud case significant is not just the immediate financial penalty, but its long-term implications for how courts assess financial disclosures by major real estate owners. In summary, Trump has faced a major civil fraud judgment in New York, posting a bond and court seizure of actions. No actual property has been seized yet. Civil enforcement mechanisms could be used if Trump fails to meet legal requirements, but that isn't a political or overseas expropriation or misleading. This development remains an active legal story, one that will continue to unfold as appeals and court decisions proceed. Stay tuned to Breaking Worldview for comprehensive coverage grounded in verified sources and real legal context.